Welcome friends to Granny's GodPod number 50, Stuck in the Middle. First, I wanted to let you know that I've been busy with a reading list as long as your arm, preparing to audit a theology course in this academic year. So please forgive me if I do not manage to put out as many videos as I could during the COVID restrictions when I had nothing else to do. I am hoping that the course will provide us with some interesting topics, and as they say, I'm doing the course so you don't have to. In Granny's GodPod number 33, called How to Live in Canaan, I mentioned the plagues that fell on Egypt. It took 10 of them to encourage Pharaoh to let the enslaved children of Israel leave to worship the one true God and begin their journey to the promised land. One might have thought that these signs that our one God was more powerful than all those little Egyptian gods should have inspired the Israelites with some confidence of a successful outcome. It didn't take Pharaoh long to forget the signs. He soon realized what a hard time the Egyptians would have without their slaves and servants, and he decided to go after the Israelites in warrior mode to bring them back. The Israelites had been led by a pillar of cloud and light to the edge of the Red Sea, where they must have felt trapped between the landscape, the sea, and the Egyptians behind them. In this seemingly dire situation, did they turn to God? No, they complained to Moses that he should have left them alone, left them slaving away for the Egyptians, rather than meeting their end in the wilderness. First of all, God demonstrates his reassurance by moving the pillar of cloud and light to the rear of the Israelites, to stand between them and the Egyptians. They no longer needed forward direction. There would be only one way forward through the parting of the sea. God tells Moses that the Israelites will never again see the Egyptians in this same manner, and who could have foreseen that now in the 21st century we would see cooperation between Israel and Egypt in the export of Israeli gas and oil. Moses, as instructed, held his rod over the waters, and an east wind blew, creating dry land for the Israelites to pass over. Incidentally, there are 4 partings of the waters in the Bible: the Red Sea, the Jordan at the end of their journey into the Promised Land, the Jordan for the prophet Elijah, and the Jordan for the prophet Elisha. The Hebrew word in Exodus 14 verse 21 describes the pathway being free of water, but in verse 22 the Hebrew word means it is completely dried out in the continuous process of the east wind blowing. This parting of the Red Sea occurred on the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This feast can be thought of as our time with Jesus, from the first day of the feast as the day of our adoption by Jesus, to the last day as we go home to him in glory. This passing through the Red Sea on the 7th day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is symbolic of our passing from this life into the next, made possible by the Lord giving us a way. I wonder if any of the Egyptians chasing the Israelites had doubts about the orders from Pharaoh. Had they all forgotten the trials of the plagues? Did they not realise that their little gods were no match for ours? Maybe they hated the children of Israel and blamed them for the plagues. Perhaps they could not see any of their own faults. We often say when something doesn't go to plan that the wheels came off, but theirs did literally. The wheels of the Egyptian chariots came off, so there they were, stuck in the middle. Do any of you remember that 1970s pop song by Jerry Rafferty and Steelers Wheel? Some of the words seem quite appropriate here. Well, I don't know why I came here tonight. I've got the feeling something ain't right. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. The Egyptians probably did not know which way to turn. Some tried to turn back. And Moses lifted his rod again. The east wind stopped and the waters rose up. The modern world can try to drag us down, which is why we need Jesus to show us the way. The narrow path, not the wide path of the jokers and clowns, those non-believers who think they don't need God, those who think their own reason and logic is sufficient, or those who don't or can't give up an immoral lifestyle. They really are stuck and need our prayers. When the people of Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the shore, they feared God and believed in the Lord and his servant Moses. But they still had a lot to learn on their travels to the Promised Land, just as we do on our journey through life. Here in the UK at the moment, we are at the end of an era, the end of the Second Elizabethan age, following the death of Her Majesty the Queen. Although we knew it had to happen, none of us were expecting it quite so soon. We know Her Majesty had a deep Christian faith, so we take comfort in knowing she is now with the Lord. I send my condolences to all who have been affected by her death.